May Jesus be praised, and onward with Mary. Good and holy day to you all, my dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and Mary, in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back to our morning feature, Saints and Coffee. Today's Thursday, the 12th of December. We're in the second week of Advent, and today, although there's no specific liturgical mention, we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Morenita, Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, the Virgin Morenita, celebrated worldwide for her apparition between the 9th and 12th of December, way back in 1531. Yet still so close to us because of the feelings it evokes. In a moment, we'll tell you her story and the message this story holds for our times. But first, I'd like to tell you that I've just returned from Sardinia. It was 2 extraordinary, wonderful days, unforgettable in many ways, for me at least. Yesterday in Sassari, after I'd explained how we traveled by car, they told us that we'd practically covered the whole of Sardinia in 2 days, because we arrived with a real whirlwind tour. To Olbia 2 days ago in the morning, to go down to Cagliari. Then from Cagliari, we were in the central eastern area of Sardinia, in a village whose name escapes me right now. What's the name of the village? Where I celebrated Mass with a group of faithful. And then that same day, yesterday, we went to Sassari for Father Celestino's Mass and the prayer meeting with the faithful of Sassari and the surrounding area. And from there, last night, we rushed, goodness knows how, all the way to Olbia so as not to miss the ferry we caught last night. So this morning at dawn, early, we docked at the port of Livorno, and now today we're here to wait for the prayer meeting for Father Ramon, who, as you already know, and as was announced 2 days ago, has been notified of his reduction to the lay state for the crime of schism, a serious crime against the faith. We've truly reached the point of absolute absurdity now. It's been 2 extraordinary days in Sardinia. I posted about it this morning. Please, Director, could you show the pictures one by one? We've chosen a couple. This is the moment when I took the register with me, the previous ones in the photo, to get it signed by the faithful few remaining in Sardinia who've survived. Because, despite the storms that have raged between one priest and another, one journalist and another, this small remnant, since it's not the work of men, but of God and the Blessed Virgin, carries on regardless. Hated by all, it carries on regardless. God's work and the Virgin's grace moves on, scorned by all, yet moves on still. Here, this is the moment when I joyfully show the register of the Confraternity of the Holy Rosary, and I'd like to tell all of you about the small remainder. You know that many realities exist. There's the seminary of the Holy Curé d'Ars, and above all, the Marian priestly sodality. There's the Company of Mary. And there's also the group of lay realities of the Sentinels of Bethany and Pioneers of the Rosary. Each of these works has cost sacrifice and has involved great suffering for its birth. But I must tell you that this last work, born of the Confraternity of the Holy Rosary, precisely because it is the last, is probably the most important. It strikes me, it fills my heart. So yesterday we finished those 2 days. This is the first photo. Then there are others. This photo shows the moment when, yesterday in Ogliastra, in the little village we visited, I celebrated Mass in the home of one of the 2 ladies you see beside me, with a couple of their family members. It felt like going back to apostolic times, when celebrations were held in homes, almost secretly, I'd say. These 2 elderly ladies, very well prepared, cultured, from Villa Grande and Strisciali, they wanted me to go because they have the whole world against them, and I willingly went to visit them at home and celebrated Mass there. Let's see the other photos in the meantime, which quickly represent, this must be the image then yesterday. Those more quickly, we can scroll them, these of the meeting in Sassari. I think we have them, though still in Sassari. The images instead are from Cagliari, from 2 days ago in Cagliari, on the 10th of December for the feast of Our Lady of Loreto. This is the initial moment of the meeting in Cagliari. They've been intense days of deep spirituality and affection from the faithful of the small Sardinian remnant. I thank them from the bottom of my heart, and as I wrote in the post, courage, little remnant of Sardinia, and onwards together with Maria. Now we're back on the continent that isn't black, but it's a bit similar. From a moral point of view, I've returned here. We're in Tuscany because today, Thursday, the 12th of December, is the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. We'll see each other in the afternoon with the small Tuscan remainder at 5:30. At the Tuscany Inn Hotel in Montecatini, term at 17:30. With Brother Celestine, Don Ramon and myself, what do we see? As you know, the title is that one there, near Don Ramon, the small Tuscan remainder in prayer. I invite all the faithful of the little Tuscan remnant who can. I realize it's a weekday. It's very difficult, as it's been difficult all around, to fill the halls which, all things considered, do fill up on weekdays. And this fills us with joy. And I would hope that as many as possible come to this prayer meeting, because in the end, it's a prayer meeting with the Holy Rosary, the singing of the litany, the consecration to Our Lady and Mass, celebrated by Don Ramon. Then there's a continuation today, mind you, because at 9 o'clock tonight, it's Thursday, we have the episode. It's not written down, the episode. Once it's there, I never look for it. When I look for it, I don't look for it. Come, director? What ep? 16th episode. Thank you. 16th episode from my book, The Lamb's Symphony. We're examining, if you remember, the 7 seals, and tonight we open the 6th seal. Get ready, earthquake, the sun darkening, the stars falling. We'll try to understand. I've given my interpretation, I'll say it straight away. Even if those who have the book already know the content, I'd like to tell you that I've given my interpretation, naturally quoting the exegetes, because my studies are serious, very serious, because I'm bringing to bear the expertise of a double theologian. This morning, I was made aware of a post by a follower. I won't say her name, because last time I did, they went even harder on me. They're foaming. I won't name them to avoid trouble. A loyal follower from Sardinia, who yesterday, just as I was about to leave Sardinia, felt the need to make a post in which she wrote against Don Minutella. She was part of the small remainder. What's he say on Minutella? She writes unbelievable things. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to explain something, because many of you, especially from Sardinia, I'm grateful for your support as you write, Father, how much do you suffer from their ingratitude? Let me explain what pains me, but first, this post. Look here, dear Don Minutella, you're building your own church too. You've arrogated to yourself the right of divine authority, having yourself proclaimed the great prelate by the community. I'll stop here, note the tone. My darling, I pray for you, convert yourself. And above all, the lie. You've been acclaimed by the community, great prelate. Lies. That is, the enemies, since they have nowhere to cling to. When these people leave, they feel they're betraying the Lord. I feel it. Then they get mad at me. I wanted to tell you all, for the affection you've shown me, that I'm not at all saddened for myself. I'm heartbroken for them. For these lambs, the ravenous wolves are coming and taking them away. I'm heartbroken for them, not for myself. Close bracket. However, it always remains difficult for them to prove their accusations. Nobody's perfect, of course. But when it comes to the crucial stuff, all they do is shout. That's not true. I've never said I'm the big prelate. Sometimes, since unfortunately we're in a really tough situation, I jokingly said I could be the big one. Jokingly. But I've never said it solemnly and officially, and it's never been officially confirmed. This type of one of the traders, one of many traders, the list is longer than a mile long, one of the many traders who was a regional representative. For love, he felt the need to release an audio recording among the regional representatives he'd signed. That says it all. Why do you need to make it known? To hurt Don Minutella, to disqualify him, to slander him, to offend him, to destroy him. In this video, which circulated a few months ago, quite some time ago, it said to Don Minutella, they're calling the deferential ones, asking for me to be proclaimed. They want to proclaim me a high-ranking prelate somewhere. What do I say? Look, do as you see fit, keep it to yourselves. Where's the fuss, the scoop? Where is it? Can I deny the case? But why is it so impossible? But isn't it possible that this fear of me being the great prelate comes from the devil? That it's my enemies who, in the end, despite everything, are consecrating me as a great prelate? Because around here, it's true or not, you who follow me closely, is it true or not that it's not a problem? Let's talk about it. I haven't got time to deal with it. I was in Sardinia and Milan days ago, now Tuscany. I need to go up to Veneto and then down to Calabria and then to Catania for 4 days to prepare the Christmas masses. Then there's about 500 coming in January. I must leave, who knows where. And these people talk, shout, and bark. Big. Got it? Right, back to the matter at hand. So today I was saying we're here in Montecatini to express our solidarity, our closeness to Don Ramon, who also isn't having a very good time with false church. But this is a point of pride, because he too has been reduced to the lay state. And then also, my dear children, I remind you of the upcoming appointments. There's a break tomorrow, Saturday. What'll Minutella do? Because by now there's this idea that he and his followers are monsters. Perhaps we can barely manage to wash a few garments, the poor little nuns, to tidy things up. And anyway, we have a long way to go. Saturday, the 14th of December, at 16:30 hours at the Auditorium 𝐥'𝐿𝐴 in Bergamo. Come on, don't miss these last northern appointments. It's been 2.5 months touring around here, and thank goodness for that. Who knows how it would have ended if I hadn't been here. Then on Sunday, we're finally in Verona, and I'll have the little pictures of my jubilee, my priestly jubilee. I'm celebrating 25 years of Mass, as you know. And then there'll be Mass celebrated by Don Ramon, where we'll express our solidarity with the faithful of Veneto. It'll be a moment of grace, of joy, where we'll bless the baby Jesus figures. I'll let you know straight away, as I've said several times before, that the final 2 stops will be in Calabria and Catania, eastern Sicily. I'd like to remind you that Father Ioannis will be in Bologna on the 22nd of December at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for confessions, prayers, and hymns, and the blessing of the baby Jesus at 5:30. Mass. Father Ioannis will be traveling between Veneto and Emilia-Romagna from the 19th to the 22nd of December. Similarly, Don Ramon will be in Sardinia from the 19th to the 22nd of December. As a reminder, Don Pavel will be in the north, in Mantua, Reggio Emilia, Imola, Bologna, the Marche region, and Veneto from the 30th of December to the 7th of January. Anyway, we'll come back to this. Let's move to today's intense episode. Not before reminding you that this afternoon at 4 o'clock, there's the Bethany Sentinels, this very important moment of prayer that precedes the meeting here. Oh, please do come, faithful of Tuscany. That precedes the meeting here at 4 o'clock. The prayer of the sentinels, who pray for the sanctification of the priests. So today's title is quite symbolic, because as we were saying, we're celebrating Our Lady of Guadalupe. There it is, the title of today's window. Our Lady of Guadalupe is Pachamama. True church and false church. Let's proceed in order. Let's start by devoting a couple of minutes to the apparitions of Our Lady. I went to Mexico once in my life, in 2013, and I have to tell you that it was July, I think. Bergoglio had been invalidly elected in March, so April, May, June, and July, only 4 months had passed. He was the Pope to me. I too liked Francis at first. I liked it at first, that thing of poverty. I'd had a few hints, but I underestimated it, like so many others. But one of the warning signs, I experienced it in Mexico, and I don't think it was coincidental. Right in Guadalupe, in the sanctuary in Mexico City, which is the most visited in the world. And pay attention because one thinks of Lourdes, or Fatima. Guadalupe has double the number of pilgrims. Here are images of the new sanctuary, consecrated and dedicated by John Paul II, who was deeply devoted to the shrine of Guadalupe. When I went there, I had the opportunity to speak with the rector of the shrine and with Mexican priests. I was wearing a cassock, so I was easily identified. Then I went to Mexico City. I got a hotel near the shrine, but I didn't do much sightseeing. I wasn't there as a tourist. I stayed there, going in the early morning. I remember a parishioner came with me and said, I went to Mexico City in the early morning because of the time difference, so it's hard to sleep well. So he, at 6 in the morning, happily went towards the shrine, thinking I was in the hotel sleeping. Instead, I was returning because I liked going when it was dark, night, almost night, deep night, and climbing Tepeyac, the hill of the Virgin's apparitions, where the Mexicans, in a somewhat typically Latin style, have reconstructed the apparitions. I also spoke with some bishops, because Cardinal Carrera, primate of the Mexican Church, was there those days, with the Mexican bishops, because there was a consecration. I don't know how many Mexican bishops there are. Loads of them. They were all there in Mexico City, in Guadalupe. I experienced 2 things in Guadalupe because they were consecrating a new bishop. So, I saw a couple of bishops. I started talking to them because they saw me in my cassock. They asked me questions. Then, when they hear you're Italian, they stop you, and you know what? A couple of bishops there told me. One in particular, I can't recall his name, an old chap, huge, a real giant of a man. He said, you'll see who this so-called Pope Francis really is in Mexico City. Never told that. Then, the other really nice thing is that I knew the day I arrived, I had to stay, I think, 5 days. I spent 5 days at Guadalupe's shrine each morning. I only went out for meals and so on. And from the first day, the rector, who then welcomed me into his home, we had lunch together, told me that a pilgrimage from a city, Cuernavaca, would be arriving. And I said, but why are they telling me? Why were they telling me? I went to the bar, everyone saying a pilgrimage is arriving. But I kept thinking, what's the point of emphasizing it? I only understood when I saw it with my own eyes. 1 million pilgrims, the kind of thing we saw here in the post-war years, the 40s, 50s, 60s, which then gradually disappeared from Italy. Because it's been recounted, I saw it there with my own eyes. I didn't stop crying for a single moment, and I rarely cry. So many families, you have no idea, so many young mothers with children, and 1 million goosebumps because you couldn't get into the sanctuary. When I arrived there that morning, during the pilgrimage, I couldn't walk on the forecourt. It's immense. I don't know how many square kilometers the sanctuary esplanade is. It was a human carpet, everyone on the ground, in their hats, even though it was cold because there's a temperature difference. Mexico City is high up as a city. Everyone there, happy, joyful, in their hats. Thousands of children, families, young people, men, women. Since they couldn't all get in, they couldn't all enter the sanctuary. So they opened the sanctuary doors where you can glimpse, as we'll see, the story of Our Lady with the tilma, that is the small cloak of Juan Diego, on which the image of the Blessed Virgin was imprinted photographically. And look at this, the people mad with love for Our Lady. So at a certain point, a circular route around the sanctuary began, which I also did. I went around blessing the children. Then I looked for my parishioner. I couldn't find him, but I found myself surrounded by children. I had 3 or 4 in my arms. I was blessing them. It's a wonderful thing. And all the people passed by, walking miles around. Finally, when they passed in front, and there's the tapilura. It's something out of this world, the love for Our Lady of the Mexicans. Right, this was for, and I remember those words very well. This moment. John Paul II visited Guadeloupe several times and always lived until 2002. He went several times. In 2002, he went the last time when he was already in a wheelchair and struggled to speak, to beatify the visionary Juan Diego. What happened in Guadeloupe? You know that the Spanish arrived in Mexico in the 16th century, after the so-called discovery of America, and a long agony began for the indigenous local people, the Aztec culture. So the 13th of August, 1521, the year that prepares the appearance, marks the decline of this culture, of this civil tradition, when Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, a superb capital, under the leadership of Emperor Montezuma, was sacked and destroyed by the Spanish conquistadors under the command of Captain Misfor. Hernán Cortés, the famous. This destruction of the city of Tenochtitlan marks, on the one hand, the definitive fall of the Aztec Empire, and on the other, the spread of the Christian message. So right away, Hernán Cortés ordered that the Franciscan friars, because it was mainly they who came from Spain, evangelize the local Aztec populations and baptize them. Among those baptized, one of the first to voluntarily receive baptism will be called by his baptismal name Juan Diego. It's within this context, then, 10 years after the destruction of Tenochtitlan, 10 years later, in 1531, from the 9th to the 12th of December, that the apparition of Our Lady to this poor Indian named Juan Diego should be placed. And he was originally from Cuautitlan, and he belonged to the Mate Wales indigenous tribe. He was baptized at his request, and was already devoted to Our Lady. That is, he learned to be devoted to Our Lady. One day, on the 9th of December, he had to cross this hill. I remember I had a hotel room overlooking Tepeyac Hill, and he had to cross this hill every day to go to catechism. At Santa Cruz Church, he set off at midnight and walked there and back 24 kilometers. Then nowadays we worry about staying on a diet because we think it all depends on eating little. Why were they so fit? Because 24 kilometers a day on foot. Passing then near Tepeyac Hill, where it should be known that a temple to the serpent god was built. The Indian is drawn to a harmonious bird song. And you see, when you climb Tepeyac Hill today, it's not a terribly arduous climb. There's a little chapel right at the top, the oldest one. And there the Mexicans, the sanctuary, have put the bird song, which I, being a bit of a grump as I sometimes am, going there seemed like a gift from Mother. I heard this song from above, but saw no one. I thought it must be a sign, a gift from heaven. Then I found out they put music in the hill to recreate the atmosphere. He hears this harmonious bird song and finally sees a woman, a beautiful and sweet woman, who calls him by name with tenderness, Juan Diego, and then Juan or Diego. Our Lady introduces herself with these precise words, which are now for us in the topic we are discussing decisive as a conclusion. Because Our Lady introduces herself like this, listen carefully. I am the ever-perfect Virgin Mary. I hope Don Vitaliano and all those who deny it hear this, those cursed impostors of the false Bergoglian Church. Mary's virginity, I am. The Madonna comes from heaven, I am the perfect one. Those are her first words, after calling him sweetly, the perfect ever Virgin Mary. But this is the most important passage now, in my opinion. The mother, we're in the context of the Christianization of the Aztec people, who also worshipped Pachamama, as we shall now see, under a different name, but it was her to whom they sacrificed children. An Aztec mummy of a teenage girl has been found, a sacrifice victim, perfectly preserved, thanks to natural hibernation. So she's right there, intact. It looks like she's sleeping. She'd been sacrificed to these pagan gods. Then the Madonna comes to say, I am the perfect, ever Virgin Mary, Mother of the one true God. There's a very clear statement of a struggle, a battle, an assertion against pagan idolatry, against pre-Columbian cults. Against. Not in the human sense of the word against, but in the revealed sense, that is, God revealed himself in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the one and only Savior, and Mary is his perfect mother, mother of the one true God. So everything that I shamefully conceal with the complicit silence of, just as many apostate cardinals did in Abu Dhabi and then Jakarta, saying that the diversity of religions is God's will, that everyone must worship their own God, and that the previous statement is worthless trash and evil stuff. So he went to Guadeloupe and was almost falling off his seat. He went to Cestacova, and there he fell to the ground. In Guadeloupe, you can see the photos, the images of a Bergoglio who is forced to be there. But it's as if he's really suffering. Father of the true and only God. At this point, Our Lady asks Juan Diego to go to the bishop, a Spaniard, a Franciscan Spaniard, Zumarraga, to tell him that she wishes a temple to be built in that place, at the foot of the hill. Here's the complete text of her words. Juan, you're the youngest of my children. Look at you, Madonna, where are you going? Why didn't she know? Let me make this perfectly clear. I repeat it to you. You are the youngest of my children, and I am the perfect, ever Virgin Mary, the mother of the one true God, the source of life, of the all-comprehending Creator, Lord of heaven and earth. I ardently desire that a temple be built here, where I may offer all my love and compassion, my help and protection, for I am your merciful mother, yours and of all the inhabitants of this earth, all of you. Even those who, for the most part, still worshipped idols and were unbaptized, the devotees who call upon me with faith and whose cries I hear. I therefore want to remedy their pains, all their difficulties and sufferings, showing myself in this place of worship, which will be built through you to bring about my mercy. You will therefore go to the bishop's palace in Mexico City to tell him that I sent you and that I wish him to build me a temple on the esplanade. You'll tell him exactly what you've seen and heard. Rest assured, I'll be very grateful for this, and you'll deserve a reward for the effort and trouble of carrying out my mission. Go and do it, now that you've fully understood my command. That's it. The first message from December 9th, can we put on my right in the left box? That nice image from before, when I stood before Our Lady. When Diego decides to go, to come to the command of Our Lady, and so immediately runs to the bishop's palace, covering many kilometers, he arrives breathless, right in front of the bishop, because he's not so young anymore, while Diego, meanwhile, has to endure an endless wait. Then he tells the bishop, but he's not believed. The bishop practically dismisses him in a very unpleasant way, I'd say. and so he leaves, heartbroken. To get home, he has to pass by 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, and he goes there. He stops and asks the Madonna for forgiveness because he failed in his task. He says, "My work was unsuccessful." The Virgin Mary then ordered him. She really ordered him. Our Lady told him, she used this word, she ordered him to return the following day to the bishop, who, after asking him many questions, this time about the place and circumstances of the apparition, the bishop, this time, seeing him return the following day, the 10th of December, said, "If it's true, I want a sign." The Virgin Mary learns of this and tells Juan Diego that he will be given the sign. He's done his time in purgatory, since the sign he asked for helped us find Our Lady's painting. For him, I think less time, as he had to believe. But the following day, Juan Diego couldn't go to Our Lady. He's detained. Why? Because he lives with his uncle, Juan Bernardino, who is seriously ill and needs the last rites. So he, on the morning of the 11th of December, he pulls the plow to find a priest to confess the dying man. Reaching the Tepeyac, Mandiego, seizing the opportunity, uses his uncle's death as an excuse to escape this bitter mission. So he decides to change his route to avoid meeting the lady. But as he's turning to change roads, the lady, they're spoken to and asked, "My little son, what's happening? Where are you going?" An incredible story. Juan Diego falls at her feet, begging pardon. Forgive me, because I'm unable to carry out this mission for the bishop. And then there's my uncle, who is ill. The lady reassures him, saying his uncle is healed. At that exact moment, Juan Bernardino was indeed cured. She tells Juan Diego, "It's December 12th. Climb Tepeyac and pick the finest flowers." Juan Diego ascends and finds beautiful Castilian roses atop the hill. This itself was miraculous, as it was winter solstice, when no such flowers could bloom in this barren, rocky place. The season, nor the place, a desolate stony wasteland, was suitable for the growth of these beautiful roses, these Castilian flowers. However, he gathers as many as he can and wonders where to put them. He finds no container. He can't use his hands, so he takes off his tilma, that typical Mexican traditional cloak, opens it, puts the flowers inside, closes it, and goes down to see the bishop. He arrives there and still has to wait a long time in the antechamber. But just when it seemed there was no time left, the bishop finally received him. Now pay close attention. When he believed the sign was the flowers, that's exactly what it was. The sign was the Castilian flowers on the 12th of December, on Tepeyac, a miracle. All he had to do was open the tilma and say, "I gathered them. Come and see. There are flowers here that weren't there before," because he'd passed by many times before, and quite possibly even left some there himself. Some of them, then, he'd already found a way to say what the miracle was. So imagine now, the most powerful moment arrives when Diego has to open the tilma to show it to the bishop, and to the enormous astonishment of the bishop, of those present, and Juan Diego himself, they find that the flowers are gone, but on the tilma is imprinted the image of the Blessed Virgin. Even today, in studies, as we'll see in Our Lady's Eyes, the scene where the bishop witnesses the miracle is depicted. The bishop falls to his knees, and with him everyone present. The following morning, Juan Diego accompanied the bishop to Tepeyac to show him the place where the Virgin Mary had asked for the temple to be built. In this picture, there's a photo of Our Lady. When I went to see my confessor, Father Amort, he always told me that he had very little on his desk, full of letters from all over the world, but he did have the image of Medjugorje, the Madonna of Medjugorje, and the Madonna of Guadalupe. Once I looked at this image and didn't ask, he told me that in exorcisms he had experienced how strong this image was against evil. Here, that's considered the sanctuary. The image painted on the cloth is a 𝐾𝐲𝐝, meaning it wasn't made by human hands. Studies have shown it wasn't painted by human hands. Furthermore, in 1929, a meticulous scientific examination discovered, as I said, that reflected in the pupils of Mary's eyes, of the Virgin Morenita, like in a photographic film, is the image of the Virgin and other people present at the Miracle of the Roses. The phenomenon remains scientifically inexplicable. Months ago, on the channel, well, these are the Madonna's eyes, so to speak, to say that there are many other things that I naturally can't fully cover. It's the whole constellation. A few months ago, the now unrecognizable to me, dear Dr. Cianci, has hosted a study by one of his collaborators on his YouTube channel, if you remember. Mid the stars of the Madonna, whose count would stop, now is not the time to go into it at Benedict XVI. He presented it with, how shall we put it, compared to today, closing parentheses, to say the inconsistencies. Don Minutella has always been consistent, always had a line, but to say no? To say, closing parentheses, why does the prophecy suddenly disappear? It's not a prophecy, and it wasn't. I mean, putting that aside, if Our Lady said that, why doesn't it apply anymore? How come? What happened? Well, let's get back to it. Our Lady is beautiful. This Our Lady of Guadalupe is truly enchanting. I saw her in person. You know, I received a special grace. I always pass by with the tapirura because it's at a distance. And I passed and repassed, passed and repassed. I couldn't bring myself to leave. Then I asked if it was possible to go upstairs. The reader said, yes, look, there's a photo of mine. I had it taken at home, like Madonna or Michael Jackson fans. I went up there. My goodness, I can't tell you. Having that image just a few meters away. What meters? Centimeters. I was right there. I really admired it, contemplated it, felt all the fascination in an image of the Madonna, with a noble brown face, hands clasped in a pink robe bordered with flowers, a sea blue cloak quilted with golden stars covers her head and falls to her feet, which rest on the moon. Behind him the sun shines brightly, 100 rays bursting forth. Here, look at the photo. This is a real coup de théâtre, honestly. Look, and you'll see I'm there, a very young Don Minutella before it began. Yes, the mission hadn't started yet. A part of it, you see, I'm at the Guadalupe Shrine in July 2013, and here I'm granted, if I reach out my hand, I can touch the painting on the tilma, an exclusive gift that I've always considered a present from Our Lady. The Madonna's message, of course, is very strong and profound. Overall, to summarize, complessivamente, the way the Madonna appears, her clothes, skin color, and other details, aim to show that she is a mother and to convey a vivid image of God's tenderness and mercy, probably also to soften and heal the trauma left by, let's say, the conquistadors.
Che avevano portato immersi così la nuova religione, però appunto anche un po' di violenza, parecchia violenza.
who brought the new religion to Mexico, but also, well, quite a bit of violence, a great deal of violence. Our Lady appears as a mestiza, that is, with dark skin. She's dressed like any native, and she wants to say something important. She's telling the Mexicans, I am your mother, despite being perfect. An ever-virgin mother of the true God. As we have heard, she shows herself as a mother of tenderness, sweetness, and consolation. It shows she understands the suffering of the troubled Aztec people and wants to share their pain and lift them up. Therefore, she orders the construction of a place of worship right there, because she wants the Mexican faithful to find in her the image of goodness and of tenderness. The Virgin's face is mixed race, approximately 16 years old, if we can get a close-up of the face. The mixed race features are a blend of European white and indigenous dark, meaning she's the mother of all. In Mary, and therefore in Jesus Christ, of whom she is the ever-virgin mother, humanity is reconciled. St. Paul said, how does St. Paul write? No Jew or Greek remains, neither Jew nor Greek, neither slave nor free, but we are all one in Christ Jesus. There's no longer Aztec or Spaniard, no longer Mexican or European, but we are all, through Mary, children of God, redeemed by the blood of Christ. His eyes express all the vitality of his youth and communicate his love. It's an even more detailed close-up, as you will now see, of the face he shows. His gaze is downcast because, in the Aztec Indian mentality, looking someone in the eyes was considered an act of provocation and offense. So the Madonna keeps her eyes downcast to show she means no offense, no provocation. Her head is bowed, as you can see, slightly to the right, to indicate, to symbolize that we are not slaves, but children. There are rays around the Madonna's body. It's a luminous almond, it's been called, that frames the Virgin, bringing luminous rays almost as if to announce the 12th of December. I remember this apparition didn't happen by chance near Christmas. The Madonna presents herself as the mother of the true God, the one and only true God. This is Christmas. So this bright almond of sunbeam signifies the announcement of the coming of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. They're arrow-shaped and symbolize in the arrow spiritual ascent. The mouth of the Holy Virgin is anatomically perfect, very small, giving the impression of a slight pity. You can't see a more direct image of the face, a small and sweet smile. There it is, look, so you can see it better. Look what a marvel. Let's reiterate. His face slightly tilted to the right to show that everyone has the dignity of a free man and is not a slave. His eyes so gentle and full of love, his mouth hinting at a smile, his naturally black hair, all the details, the neck, etc. The Madonna has her hands clasped in prayer because she implores as a mediatrix. Studies have shown this, that the very first public Marian apparition, the one in Guadeloupe in December 1531, the first public apparition of Our Lady, is also the one that announces the last dogma, the co-redemptrix. Mary the mediatrix implores God for us. The belt is the garment of a noblewoman. Black or a band symbolizes her life. In Aztec culture, the expectation of a child. Indigenous women distinguished themselves during their pregnancy because they wore this black ribbon on their upper abdomen. In fact, you see that in the upper part of the belly, where you can see the Madonna's clasped hands. There's this black belt that ends in a point and evokes a divine figure. First of all, it's very beautiful that the pregnancy culminates in clasped hands, because a divine pregnancy. And then here's the mantle. Studies have been done, and Rocha, a scholar, discovered a correlation between the stars of the Virgin's mantle and those in the winter solstice sky. Here it is, from 1531. The constellations and the main stars have been reconstructed. Some constellations fall into significant positions. Look closely. The northern crown is on the forehead, see? The Virgo constellation is on clasped hands, where it says Virgo. The lion on the belly has conquered, the lion of the tribe of Judea. The lion is Christ. She bears his child. The constellation of Orion, the mythical giant, is on the angel supporting the Virgin. The stars are 46 eight-pointed stars. These drawings clearly show the essential elements present on the tilma. Then again, there's so much more to say, but we obviously don't have time to go into everything. I'll refer you to many in-depth studies because I see it's already 10:05. Right then, I'd now like to return to the way, the description that Our Lady offers of herself at Guadalupe. Our Lady says, "I am the ever-perfect Virgin Mary." These are important words because Our Lady says them to Juan Diego. I am the ever-perfect Virgin Mary, Mother of the one true God. Why does the Madonna present herself as the mother of the one true God? Because the Aztecs were still there, worshipping pre-Columbian pagan deities. And amongst these, listen very carefully, Pachamama. There were indigenous figurines. Thousands have been found. There they are. They're kept, I've seen them, in the National Museum of Mexico City. Round and round, but you find them. You find these idolatrous statuettes that Bergoglio had brought to Rome, in the total silence of the cardinals, in the total indifference of the faithful, in the shameful complicity of millions of Catholics worldwide. Bergoglio and the false church brought the idolatrous little statues of Pachamama to Rome, in total silence, to replace devotion and worship of the ever-Virgin Mary. It's nonsense to venerate her. This is too much. She wants to be the servant, eh?
Ma vi rendete conto di che cosa stiamo dicendo a distanza ormai di qualche anno? Lì Don Minutella doveva
With Pachamama. But do you realize what we're saying even after a few years' distance? There, Don Minutella had to be believed by everyone because he was the only one who shouted it out immediately. Then, of course, everyone played their part, but in union with Pope Francis. That was the moment. They brought to Rome the idols that Our Lady of Guadalupe had come with. She's replaced Pachamama. So on behalf of Lucifer, I'm replacing Pachamama with you. Hatred of the Madonna. Go and check it out, if you've got the guts. And you'll see that these ones in the Vatican, these apostates, cursed executors of Satan's plan inside St. Peter's Basilica, as soon as you mention Our Lady, they'll reveal themselves. As soon as you mention the Blessed Virgin, Marian devotion, the Rosary, the Divine Motherhood, the perpetual virginity of Mary, the co-redemptrix, look how they reveal themselves. Bergoglio has blasphemed the Madonna several times. Nonsense, calling devotion to Mary from the Pope. Nonsense means A. Got it? It's serious. Then Joseph and Mary, they too made the journey to conquer sin. But who's Joseph? Yes, Saint Joseph. Apart from the fact that, however, he made a previous journey, Saint Joseph. Not that he was born, unless I'm mistaken. I'm not saying that. Far from it. But certainly, to get there, in fact, there are biographies of Saint Joseph written by Maria Cecilia Bai. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's very moving. The Joseph one, very moving. Because it's in God's logic, this. Before arriving at the betrothal with the Madonna, God makes him go through unheard-of trials. They turned against him, humiliated him, slandered him, offended him, economic crisis, physical illnesses. Saint Joseph went through trials because God purified him, so he arrived and attained sanctity. But Mary didn't have to take this path because she was conceived and then destroyed. The dogma of the co-redemptrix, because it even blocked and overshadowed Amsterdam. But the most surprising thing is seeing that idol arrive, the one the Madonna herself personally ousted. I am the mother of the one and only true God. And you see these images that I ask you to broadcast full screen? Look there! Look at the apostates. Those are the cardinals that some people turn to even today, hoping they'll convert. Oh well, wait and hope, then the hour will draw near. Look, he's got the poster. These are cardinals and bishops. And we're not talking about a comedy. This isn't just adding a place at the table. This is the Holy See. This is St. Peter's. This is the Vatican establishment of Satan's partisans. These are lay people who, on behalf of the bishops, are bringing them inside St. Peter's Basilica. Look at this thing! A procession of a pleasure-seeking Bergoglio with Pachamama. Look at this, my dear children, and tell me if this can still be considered the Catholic Church. Look, Pachamama, I am the mother. Today is the message of Our Lady of Guadalupe, of the one and true God. So the Virgin Mary didn't appear in Mexico to confirm the indigenous people in their false cults, almost as if to say, like Bergoglio does, go back to worshiping Pachamama, we're sisters, we're friends, we speak amongst ourselves. We understand each other. When I go to the hairdressers, I often meet Pachamama. Sometimes she comes. Then I see Basai, the Madonna said. Then in 5 or 6 centuries, I will be replaced. So I'll retire to the integration house and Pachamama. Our Lady, however, at Guadalupe, requests the building of a church and urges conversion to the one true faith. What are these little statues that arrived in Rome in October 2019? Their idolatry, the clearest expression of the apostasy of the false Bergoglian Church. I'm astonished these days. I'm not saying this lightly, but those who were with us have returned to me, have returned to Pope Francis. Will they save their souls? I heard about a couple from Tuscany who, it seems, are no longer with us. They were fervent supporters, the ones I was telling you about. Apparently they've left. They married within our community. They journeyed with us, enthusiastically. Apparently, and I so hope I'm wrong, they've gone. I don't feel pain for myself, I feel pain for them. Will they save their souls? They've returned to the Church of Pope Francis. If there's a Mass that isn't with Pope Francis, they'll hold it. But if that's not possible, listen to Father Tizio and Father 𝐥'𝐤𝐢. Go to Mass, you say as you enter the church, I'm not in communion with. How are you not in communion with? You're going to Mass, you're there, you're at the Mass being celebrated on behalf of the Mass. Holy Mary, a priest tells God he's in communion with Pope Francis, but it's not just him, it's all of you there. If you're not in communion, stay out, or you'll be complicit. The presence of indigenous states in Rome in October 2019, carried in procession, placed at the center of a ritual, and before which people prostrated themselves, as happened in the Vatican gardens, cannot be justified at all, as has been attempted with the idea of inculturation. It's one thing to recover healthy elements of indigenous cultures and lead them to the baptism of the gospel. It's another thing entirely to continue worshiping what God doesn't want, what goes against God, idolatry then. I don't know if you understand. With Bergoglio, we've returned to Rome with idolatry confirmed, as if nothing had happened. We're a cursed breed, perhaps, Cain's own. Isn't this a Cainite church? Seeing those who are now leaving angrily, then vomiting on me as I told you at the beginning of this episode. But why are you attacking me? Don't you agree? Go forth. No, you have to say that Minutella said he wants to be the big. What's behind this false, mendacious propaganda? Because I never said that. Have you gone? Think it's real? Why are you coming at me? Does that mean there's something satanic? Cain's breed. We're with the lineage of Abel, it seems, beginning with the church from Abel. I don't know if Brother Celestine understands ecclesiology. We're talking about a patristic theme. The church from Abel. This means that for the fathers of the church founded at Pentecost, however, has its premise with all the righteous of the Old Testament. And who is the very first righteous person? Abe? No, to be precise, the first righteous person to sacrifice to God, the sacrifice pleasing to God, is Abel, who is therefore killed by Cain. We are in the time when the Cains kill Abel. There is a Cainite lineage, a Cainite church, a Cainite establishment, a Cainite lineage. The Danites are at work. The Antichrist has his emissaries everywhere. And we're fine. Father Minutella is fine. What's the point of showing all this hatred? Don't you agree? Thank you, Don Minutella, for what you taught me, but I disagree now. If you must, why do you feel the need to write it, to publish it? What's the reason? Got it? They follow in the footsteps of Cain. They go to the church where there's the putrid stench of Pachamama. It's enough to send shivers down your spine. I'm afraid to see how Satan charms them, wins them over, and conquers them. I'm not upset by what they're doing to me. It's false that I want to be begged for, though I wish I were. Oh my goodness, when I show myself, I do it like this, like I did yesterday, but I've never said I'm the big deal. And I've confirmed their enthusiasm many times, but I can't force them. Those who believe us, because perhaps that's what Santa wants, but that's Cain's lineage returning to pagan idols. Unbelievable. Where? In Rome, yes, but Rome where? Because just saying Rome isn't enough. Look at the images. Rome, St. Peter's, the Vatican. There's not much more to add. The Madonna appears pregnant in the tilma. If it were possible to compare, you should know that I am extremely grateful to the director and the team who work with me, because I ask them for sacrifices, immense efforts, and yet they try to please me. If it were possible now to compare the Virgin Morenita of Guadalupe, whom we celebrate today, and Pachamama, you'd notice some interesting things. Because Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared, as we said, with the black ribbon that Aztec women wore over their wombs to indicate that they were pregnant. Look, and then prospective studies have also shown that she is indeed pregnant. Let's see Pachamama. And you see that one's also an idol depicted as pregnant. Look, see it? She's a pregnant woman, so she's the anti-Mary, because to get the Antichrist, you need the anti-Mary. You know that under the cover of darkness, an Austrian Catholic activist, Alexander Chugul, removed these three figurines. of Pachamama had been thrown into the Tiber, and speaking off the cuff to the synodal fathers, the Pope, as they call him around here, asked forgiveness for the pagan statuettes thrown into the Tiber. The Carabinieri recovered them immediately, so there was also intervention from the Italian police force. And the following Sunday, they were displayed at the closing Mass of the Synod for the Amazon. Bergoglio keeps this fetish in his quarters, apparently. An unbelievable, disastrous epilogue, as we know, that speaks volumes about the shame. In short, the Pope has apologized to those who felt offended, his own words, for the Pachamama statues, which were removed from the church in Traspontina, which were there without idolatrous intentions, and were thrown into the Tiber. What does without idolatrous intentions mean? Why were those statues in Mary's church? Do you see the lie? All here. There's lust, there's idolatry, there's falsehood, there's Satan. The Church of Satan, as Padre Pio told Don Amorth. People going back there, swayed by those chancers, it hurts. Not for what they say about me, means nothing to me or them. The Carabinieri quickly retrieved the figurines and, to ensure their safety, gave Pachamama a tour of the barracks. Thirdly, the Holy See, through Cardinal Parolin, swiftly moved to reinstate the Pachamama statues. So, my dears, we can easily reach the conclusions naturally. Pachamama, in the Quechua language, means Mother Earth. She's a deity worshipped by the Aztecs, the Inca, and other peoples inhabiting the Andean highlands, such as the Aymara and Quechua. She is the goddess of the earth, agriculture, and fertility. So it's a pagan deity, an Andean one, not Amazonian, among other things. How can it be used in a church without, as Bergoglio says, idolatrous intentions? How is an idol used without worship? Anyway, my children, that Pachamama affair is undoubtedly an anti-Mary. It's actually today that the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe is Mary's competitor. Moreover, in the Kish version, with her breasts uncovered forward with a, I'd say, leggera sottoposta, even so erotic propaganda, to know that unrevealed non-Christian religious traditions, and also in Islam advise the truth, excuse these regions of the book. The kinship between Hieros and Gamas is very strong. That is, between the idea that sexuality is a tool for, and in fact Pachamama is naked. She's a naked deity, as you can see, while the woman is dressed fashionably, so to speak. This is a lesson for women too. I'd say Pachamama is the mother of the Antichrist. Wicked, apparently naive, harmless, and instead diabolical. There she is, you see her very well, inspiring sensuality, inspiring a lack of modesty, inspiring the flesh itself, flesh carnality, the sinful passion. On the other hand, there's the mother of the one true God we worship today. May Our Lady of Guadalupe help us stay alert and resist the powerful influence pressing on us from all sides. See how we're in this? In my opinion, we're hinting at something other than the election, as those idiots claim, but clearly I don't know the prophecies. The senior prelate must not be elected and will not succeed the Pope. The great prelate is sent. In my opinion, there's only need for recognition. In my opinion, what's worse is that the devil is angry, because in my opinion we are here and we are at the peak. So let's resist with the crown in hand. And today we come to the Holy Virgin Mary of Guadalupe and greet Bergoglio and the wicked, evil, cursed false church from afar. Unfortunately, many prisoners, including some of those who were with us, have left. No, they haven't simply left. They've gone back where they came